Opening title appears. Universal Design in Higher Education. Title swipes across the screen, followed by Roger O. Smith, followed by Tim O'Connor, followed by UW-LaCrosse. Title fades to black. An Introduction to Universal Design in Higher Education, Part 4, Roger O. Smith. Video fades to black. Roger O. Smith standing behind a podium in front of an audience.
Okay, different concept here, really important concept, and that is, yes, we want to do things better for people with disabilities, and we want to do this universal design things, but there are some interesting examples where we've created things for people with disabilities because we care about people with disabilities and being inclusive, and it turns out that that wasn't why we should have been doing it to begin with. The people who are really benefiting are not the people with disabilities. You guys know about curbs and curb cuts, and nowadays you can't probably go to any corner in LaCrosse, at least downtown or on campus, where there isn't a curb cut to be able to get across the street. Or are there examples? Maybe there are examples where they aren't there. But the whole idea was people in wheelchairs are not all agile enough to go up and down curbs and do wheelies and do what they need to get up and down curbs. Or you don't want them wheeling out on the road where the traffic is to find the next driveway, so we put in curb cuts. And for a number of years, you'd see us jackhammering out those curbs and putting in curb cuts because we did it wrong to begin with. Nowadays, we pour it right. It doesn't cost anything else. The cost is almost minuscule in terms of additional expense. And now we have curb cuts for everyone who's in a wheelchair, and everyone who has a hand truck, and every baby stroller, and for a while I was saying skateboards until I realized that no, people who use skateboards like the curbs. They don't do the curb cuts. Anyway, it turns out that less than 1 out of 10 people who use curb cuts are the people they were intended for, people in wheelchairs. It's all the rest of us that use it all the time for different reasons. There's a really interesting example on television. You cannot buy a television set today that is not equipped for people with disabilities. Anybody know what I'm talking about? Closed captioning. You cannot buy, it is illegal to purchase or sell or manufacture a television set in this country because of the federal law that doesn't have captioning, which is very cool. The reason it's there was because we were being inclusive for people with disabilities who couldn't hear. And so we were trying to be favorable to be able to be more of an accommodation model because we wanted to include the people who couldn't hear. So we have now the opportunity for closed caption. The story on that is the television lobby and the manufacturers lobbied very heavily against that law because it was going to increase the cost of our television sets, and it was the federal government telling them what to do and how to manufacture things when they knew best. The federal government and the legislature decided that it didn't make sense for people who needed closed captioning to buy a $300 or $400 set-top box to put on your TV. And so they passed the law and said you have to have that chip. It's just a microchip. You throw it in your television set. Everybody can have it. And if any of you have purchased a television set recently, you actually paid more for it because we were helping out people who are deaf. About a dime. And so it was actually turned out to be a very good law for the people who are deaf and need closed captioning. It also turns out that the people who are deaf and use closed captioning are the 7th population down of users. There's 6 other groups of people who use television closed captioning more than the people it was intended for. Any guesses?
Health club members.
Health club members. Bars. Language, English as a second language. Doctor's offices. Airports. Lots and lots of places. Although, I think according to one survey, we're missing the biggest population, which is a little bit interesting. Although we don't think of this population very often. Apparently, the biggest users of people with closed caption are spouses and significant others that are trying to go to sleep at night, and their significant other says, turn off the TV, but they want to watch it. So they turn off the sound. And some of us have television sets now that as soon as you mute it, closed captioning automatically comes on. It's pretty cool. Anyway, so why didn't we think of doing this for all of us? Why do we have to? But we did that, and it's now a really good thing. Many of you, in fact, everybody carries a telephone around with you nowadays. You know who invented the telephone, right? Alexander Graham Bell. Does anybody know why Alexander Graham Bell invented this thing that has changed society, changed the world? Because his family actually were instructors for deaf people. He actually was trying to invent and create a new hearing device, and by accident created something that revolutionized communication. So, gee, why couldn't we have just done it for everybody? And then here's one that you may not know, and for the first time, actually recently, I was actually saw where this might have happened, but you can't watch a football game today without having some experience that was caused because of people with disabilities. And football was changed by the football team at Gallaudet University. And if any of you know what Gallaudet University is known for, is they have a very, very large population of deaf individuals there. Imagine a football team trying to communicate the play, like, I'm going that way to the right or to the up, you know, or whatever the, you know, lingo is at the date, and not tell the other team. How do people with deaf often communicate? Sign language. So you don't want to show the play to the other team, so what do you do to cover it up? Huddle. And the huddle apparently started because the Gallaudet University team huddled tight to keep the other team from seeing the play. And then you can imagine being the other team going, what are they doing? Whoa, they've got something going on. So next time we're going to do that, you know, especially if they won the game, I guess. Anyway, so what's the message here? What's the message? These are all things that were invented that have had a huge impact on all of our lives. But they're there because of people with disabilities. So here's the bottom line is D, PW, D, BDE. All right, so when you leave today, we want you to know D, PW, D, BDE. So if anybody comes up here on the sidewalk and says, what did you learn today? You can say D, PW, D, D, BDE, whatever. Design for people with disabilities is better design for everyone.
Video fades to black. Closing. R2D2 logo appears. Title reads, copy and distribute freely, but use in its entirety and do not alter. Access said project, copyright 2009, Rehabilitation Research Design and Disability R2D2 Center. Please visit us at access-ed.r2d2.uwm.edu. The Access Ed project is supported in part by the U.S. Department of Education Office of Post-Secondary Education, PR Award P33A050090. The Access Ed documents contained in this video are those of the grantee and do not necessarily reflect directly on the U.S. Department of Education.